How's the coffee? Or other coffee. You have to excuse me, I'm working on my first cup of coffee. It was a late night. My Lions lost. I'm not very happy about that. Screw you, Jets. Today's profile is Barik. I'm trying to get these done, but it's not working. Now, Barik is a very interesting frontline type champion because most of your front lines have one card that is very strong, and this is like a must-pick card. For example, Khan has Firing Line, Anara has Warder's Field, Makoa has Leviathans. Then there's the champions that are more flexible, where they have two decent options, and then the rest are kind of hit or miss, or they have a number. For example, Terminus and Fernando fall into that, where they have Terminus has the Seething Rage and Undying, and you have Fernando with Aegis and Scorch. You've got Ruckus, who has Rocket Barrage and Aerial Assault, where it gives him the flexibility to where those are like the two big cards on them, versus other champions like Anara, where yes, Anara has Mother's Grace and she has Tremor. They're great, but they're not as overpowered as Cripple Field is. Barik is in an interesting situation because he plays very similar to Victor before the nerf to Gunnery, where they went to the burst mode now. He has so much flexibility. He is essentially Xin the frontline, where he has all of these different abilities, or legendary cards, I should say, that are viable. I'm going to pick Hair Trigger because that's my favorite. And just... Alright, so that's the first thing you need to note about Barik is, look right there, the health is 3,400. It is the lowest health of any tank in the game. Now, people have argued with me before with Torvald, where Torvald has 3,300. But he can put a shield, he has a permanent shield on top of it. And you have to chew through that first. When you drop into a game, okay, how much health do you have? Well, Torvald has the ability to not only up his health, but has the ability to have a shield over it. So, Barik is the lowest health of a tank in the game. And we're going to talk to you why that's a bit of a negative later on, and we're also going to do a little bit of a spoiler on the Ruckus video. That's way later. I'm in the B's right now. I got to get all the way down to R. I'm fucked. Looking at your basic abilities, one problem with Barik is your cooldowns. Now, with Barik, there's a couple of things to note. Let's just start off. Your shotgun. Hold on. It has an incredibly effective range. This makes it a very good tool for poking and dismounting. You're going to have to fire your shotgun a lot. But if you just like to spray and pray, it's very effective. Look at the range that I'm able to poke at max distance. Yes, the inaccuracy is pretty bad at that range. But this makes it very effective as a poke tool. You also have your turret. Now you see these little radiuses here? That is your healing range. So your turrets are very powerful because they give you a sustain ability if you build them right. Your turrets are incredibly effective. Now the range at which your turret is effective ain't great. Yeah, it'll start turreting her. And you notice it's on base, it's 120 damage per second until it's destroyed. And me standing near it, I can heal it. And then, you know, you put a shield. Your shield is also very good. And it gives you that nimble 1 movement speed when you pass through it. And you notice that it's just automatically going after the next target. They have decent range. It makes them very effective as a poking champion for dismounting. And you notice I don't do much more damage than my turret does at this range. Obviously with her being closer, I'm doing more damage. For our ideal range...
That's 5 in a row!
Right here is about your ideal range for consistent max DPS. Right about here. It is a shotgun after all, so I wouldn't be surprised. But it's incredibly effective to know. Just let the turrets go over there and do the work. So let's start. What are your abilities? So this is Hair Trigger. And Hair Trigger is great because it's so versatile. It lets you, pretty much the thing on Barik is that all of his cards can be used in any situation with the exception of Fortify. And we'll get to that next. Here's Hair Trigger. So it lets you fire faster. Now this is effective if you're running Cauterize because it allows you to get Cauterized onto a target that much faster. The next one that we have is another one that affects your primary fire. Now this is Tinkering. Again, same card. But instead what Tinkering does Tinkering fires one shot instead of a spread. And it gives you better long-range damage. Now, believe it or not, at close range, you also get more consistent DPS. You're gonna get, look, it's 560. And then the further back you go, the more consistent your damage is.
Double kill.
So it's important to note that Tinkering is very effective. It does let you have more of a range advantage. And in actuality, you do more damage at close range on Tinkering than on other cards.
Double kill.
That being, that's a good combo, by the way. This is just as an FYI. This is very effective at letting you hold the point. Watch who your turret is shooting, and so you shoot the other person. Tinkering lets you four-shot a flank like that. Although on Hair Trigger, at closer range, I can do the same thing. So, take that off. Your next loadout card I want to talk about is Eritonics. Now, Eritonics, well, what it does is it's in the thing. So, it has a faster cooldown, and they deal more damage. Now, this is the only way you can actually reduce the cooldown of your turret. So you drop a turret. Get another turn. And this is a very effective choke strategy. You know, if you look at Jaguar Falls, that has a lane similar to this, it's a very effective strategy. And they do, it's 140 damage per shot now, which is helpful, but it's not all that impressive if you think about it. So you're basically playing this card for the cooldown reduction on it. But in a situation where you have to be a lot more mobile, it can help. There is a boost in fire rate as well on the turret that's not on the card, but that's, I just want to chuck that out there. Fortify is the next one. Now, for Fortify, let it be known you do need a Fortify build on it. You cannot run Fortify on a regular build and have it be successful. Right? So Fortify, your barricade now gains 3,000 health, and its cooldown is reduced by 3 seconds. Now, that's very important. Now we'll start talking about builds, and I'm going to start with Fortify, so we can get this out of the way. This is a decent Fortify option. As you can tell, I have Sustain and Team Support built into this. But basically, so I add another 1,000 onto the health of my barricade, so I have 4,000 health. Plus, I have another 5 seconds off the cooldown, so I've got 8 seconds off the cooldown, and I've got the duration by increased by 4 seconds. And I went with this build, for one thing, the extra 250 health on Bunker is not going to matter, which is why I didn't max it out. And I chose Palisade over Foundation because it's really more important to me to have the reduced cooldown, to have it up more often, rather than an increased duration. Now, if I were to swap out, say, Bunker for Accelerator Field, then I would maybe consider flipping 1 extra point off of the cooldown and putting onto the duration so that it's up longer. But the barricade is very effective because of Accelerator Field. That ability allows you to just mow. It just gives you a quick burst, and by God, that phone is ringing. I'm not answering it. I'm in class. And then we have Healing Station is just an all-around general good card. I have to get rid of those turns are killing me. Alright, just put you here. I'm getting distracted by all the shooting that they're doing. There we go. Alright, so this is, let's go over here for the barricade. I think this is the best place to show off the barricade. Now, it's about the same size as Ash on Fortress Breaker 2. It's actually a little bit bigger, by the way. Just as an FYI. And now I have an 8-second cooldown. So, the cooldown on my barricade is 8 seconds. So, it's on par with Ash for the most part in shielding. Believe it or not, though, my shield is larger and has a higher health. And I'm able to put out more. I also get a bit of a bonus going through it, and that does stack every time you pass through it. As you can tell, I'm ramping myself up, little by little. Just shut that down for now. But it is very hard to kill. It's also very good on power-type ults. Like, you know, this is a good defensive mechanism right here. I don't know why I keep pressing that. Alright, so then the next thing we're going to talk about, now we're going to start talking about builds. Now remember, I said you can run all 3 of these. Well, these are more situational. What do you run? In my opinion, and this is going to upset a lot of people, Aerotonix is a bad card. If you're strictly playing, you are strictly playing it for the cooldown reduction. Because you're literally getting a bonus 20 damage per shot. Now, I know damage is damage, but it's 20 damage, man. Like, if the turrets now deal 50% more damage. So, that was an extra 60 damage, and it's 120 a shot. Or, it goes from 120 a shot to 180 a shot. It's still not enough in my opinion. But, almost 200 a shot every second that you don't have to aim is important. Like, seriously. But, the 3 seconds cooldown is worth it. These two, in my opinion, are what you should generally run. Now, if I am a solo tank, Fortify is not the card that I run. You're going, I know, wait, what? However, if I have a healer with, if I'm playing with somebody else that has deployables, I don't really want to build around my turrets too much, so I run Fortify. So if I have Anara, if I have Ying, if I have, I forgot who else, Grok. If I have an Anara, a Ying, or a Grok with me as my healer, I'm going to run Fortify. I'm also going to run Fortify if my team doesn't have a lot of shielding. For example, if I have a Vivian on my team, I can't run this card. Because I try and balance out, okay, you know, Vivian's got a shield and I've got a shield. I don't want to beef up my shield so that they pick Wrecker and they start targeting the Vivian by accident. So, it plays. And also, Aerotonix does not increase the health of the turret. In my opinion, Aerotonix would be better if they took the health card out. For example, your turrets have more health. If they took that out of your loadout and they put it on the card. So, for example, your turrets now have X amount more health and they have a faster cooldown. That would be better. And I'll show you why when you see a lot of my builds. Most of my builds are very similar. And what I mean by that is solo tank and my regular build. We'll go over rocket boots first because rocket boots are more important. So for rocket boots, we will take hair trigger, and this is the bowling ball, right? So let's look. Now, this is where I talk about flex builds on Barik aren't particularly good outside of a filler card. Now, here's why. Bowling Ball is only effective if you have Red Streak and Bowling Ball at level 5. Now, you notice the rest of my cards are built entirely around nothing. They have nothing to do with rocket boots. And the reason for that is because, quite frankly, the other Rocket Boots cards suck. The increased duration is not as effective. Here's why. If you look at the card Bowling Ball, you gain a shield with 1500 health during Rocket Boots and for 4 seconds afterwards. Now, that is during Rocket Boots. So if you are trying to Rocket Boots through an ability, the increased duration or the increased range, whatever you want to call it, I'm tired, I haven't looked at those cards in a while because I haven't changed this build in God knows how long, because I didn't need to. Actually, no, that's not true. I did swap in combat repair, and I'll get to that when I talk about the turrets. But the thing with the bowling ball build you have to realize is your shield is active while you are in rocket boots. So if you are getting constantly hit while dashing forward, you don't want to dash forward longer. You want the rocket boots to end quickly so it goes on cooldown, and you can start reducing the cooldown with Red Streak. Also, Red Streak is only effective at that because it cuts the cooldown of rocket boots in half. And that still makes it a longer cooldown. It's 7 seconds. It's 7 seconds, and you get the shield for 4 seconds. So you have a 3-second period of vulnerability. And that's the key right here, is that period of vulnerability that you have. And Red Streak, you have to have that there. Now, here's the other thing, too. Yes, those cards could be effective. There's the card where falling below, I believe it's 30% of your maximum health, resets the cooldown. No, it's fall below 10% of your health, and then you buff it up. Resets the cooldown, and it has a 30-second internal cooldown on it. There we go. That's what I was thinking. The problem with that card is that 30-second built-in cooldown. If you're running Red Streak, you really don't need to do that. If you're falling that low below your HP, if you are falling below your HP that low, where you are about to die every 4 seconds, where you can't get bowling ball out fast enough to save you, that is your healer and your damage's problem. Because A, you are either not getting any healing, which means you're on the wrong build to begin with, you should be on a turret build, or you are receiving too much damage, which is your damage's fault for not cutting into the other damage. I could say flank, but I consider flank and damage to be kind of the same category. So if I say damage, I mean flank damage. Just as an FYI for this. The rest of the cards here, I have to have Healing Station. And Healing Station is, in my opinion, the best card you can run on Barik. So it's in every build. Combat Repair, which I'll explain later, and Accelerator Field. Because I like trying to buff my team. That little movement speed. I could just sit there and just constantly bob back and forth and then build up like 30-40% movement speed. It does stack. So, but that's the problem, in my opinion, with the rocket boots. And with a bowling ball build. Like, okay, you'll watch. Alright, so we jet around. I've got that shield. I'm not taking any damage. The shield is gone, and now I've got that period of invulnerability. There it goes again. There's that little 4-second window, basically. And you do get a good degree of control. The speed card's not bad if you want to put that in as a filler instead, but really, you know, it is effective. It's an effective card. I like running it, but another thing you have to realize, you have to work with your healer a lot more in that situation. Talk about items in a minute. Let's talk about this. So again, we're going to pick Hair Trigger. That's just my go-to. I think Hair Trigger is a better card because it lets me put out a higher rate of fire. Now, what I mean by that is, again, lets me poke more effectively at range, rather than that slower 1-2. So, on Tinkering, yes, you can poke, but where you hit harder, but if you're trying to poke at that range, I'm just trying to apply Cauterize. I'm just trying to apply Cauterize, and I'm just trying to, dismount in most cases. So let's look at your two builds that are tank builds. Now this is the big thing. Now, solo tank, this is the thing where I say Barik is a better tank than Ruckus, even though he has less health and less damage. He has higher sustain because of Healing Station, because of Combat Repair, not Combat Repair, One-Man Scrap, sorry, and Brave and Bold. He has a crowd control reduction card, and this is important for any tank, especially Torvald and Barik. If you are going to be running a solo tank, you need whatever your crowd control reduction card is at 70. Plain and simple. That's why, in my opinion, Barik. A lot of people say, "Oh, Barik." A lot of lower casual players say Barik is lower tier, and a lot of high up ranked players say Barik is OP. He's not. He's quite possibly middle of the pack. In my opinion, there are no bad tanks. It's just most of the tanks are middle of the pack, and there's a few chosen ones that are just overpowered and great as hell. And if you're asking me who those are, in my opinion, the top 3 tanks in the game are Khan, Anara, and Terminus. Sorry, it's Khan, Anara, Terminus. You know, for secondary choices, Nando, right there. Makoa's right there. They're like right behind. They're just outside of that area, and then everybody else is in this kind of clusterfuck of they're good, but they're not overpoweringly strong. But Barik, you need that crowd control reduction card. That's really the key here. This is not my best turret build, but again, I have turret stuff built into it, and that makes it important. Oh my god, I actually can't see the little radiuses on the ground. That kind of sucks. Maybe I have to redeploy it. But this build literally is for the crowd control. So we're not going to be able to see any effects here. That's why I'm just wandering around. One thing I will take this opportunity to talk about is your ultimate. Now your ultimate, it deploys this big dome right here. Okay, this bad boy takes a lot of damage, but the key is this turret is affected by your healing cards. This affects your healing cards. So you do get healing from this. But enemies come inside and you're toast. Enemies, you know, and if you leave, you're toast. In my opinion, this is a little secret that I tell people a lot of times. Terminus is right here. He's about to ult. You know what you do? No, I timed that wrong. Sorry. Terminus is right here. You know what you do? Your dome traps a Terminus ult inside. You actually trap a Terminus. You can trap a Terminus ult inside your dome. So, as a neat trick, a lot of people say, "Oh, Terminus is a hard counter to Barik." No, 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 he's not. What you want to do is you want to run rocket boots. I wouldn't say running a bowling ball build, but you want to rocket boots behind, drop a turret, and then come back and drop a turret so that he's sandwiched between. So if he's going to focus on siphoning you and one turret and a shotgun, or if he's going to focus on swinging at one turret, he's getting hit in the back by the other one. That's something that's very important to realize, that you want to focus, that you're constantly making sure that you are killing. He's taking damage from one side to the other. But that's a tip on the ult. This is my primary build. It is called No Needles because Barik doesn't like needles. Now, this is much more of... This is the most flexible build if you play him right. Now, you can play him as a flank, and you have these little healing stations that are your turrets, basically, that you can retreat to if you need to. Or you can play a static stand-on-point type tank that just hunkers in. I'm sorry. Hunker down, landlubbers! So, this is the key here. Now, you look, Forged Alloy and Combat Repair go hand in hand, in my opinion. Forged Alloy, Combat Repair, and Healing Station, those are 3 of your primary cards. Now, I have Accelerator Field at 3 on this build because I originally had it on 5 on this build, but I really don't see the benefit to 5 because it doesn't get you as good. This build right here gives your team Nimble 3 when they walk through it. It's not as good as Torvald's Speed Boost. If I had this at level 5 compared to Wind Dancer on Torvald at level 5, Wind Dancer Torvald is a better card than Accelerator Field. But if your team wants to push up, if you've just, you know, killed, you know, say they're running 2 tanks, a healer on point, you just killed through them, you pop your shield up and you say, go get them, and you give them that movement speed to help push up. This to me is a big thing right here. So, what do we have? So you have Healing Station, where your turrets, if you have one turret on either side of you, your turrets heal you for just under 500 health per second. You heal each of your turrets for 300 health per second. So you heal your turrets for a total of 600 health per second. So you're both healing each other. And then you increase the health of your turret by 300. And the reason why I have it at 350 is because basically I am healing my turret for, and I'm just as an FYI, I'm probably going to switch out Forged Alloy and take those 2 points off and put them to one-man scrap. Well, I think it'd be 1 point. Yeah, I'd move the 1 point off and put it onto one-man scrap and take that card out. Because that card is, you know, it's really, I'm not as happy with it anymore. My turrets, your turrets are kind of like Grox's Totem. They get destroyed too fast. Even if you have the increased health on Totem, it's still getting destroyed too fast. But, so just ignore Forged Alloy there. The big thing for me is my turrets heal me for about the same, and I heal my turrets for about the same. So if I'm hunkered in, I'm an annoying fuck to deal with. Back when Snowfall Junction was, you would very commonly get that as an onslaught. The thing is, I love that. That was my map for Barik, because they have that little wall in the back. Well, I would put a turret on either side, right? Sit there with my back to the wall, and put a wall up in front of me with my shield. So they had to actually come to kill me. It was the most campingest strategy in the world, but it was incredibly effective. Yes, I know. Oh, you're camping, but to be honest, no. I'm on the point, and I'm using the map's architecture. It's no worse than barracks on Foreman's Rise that piss me off, where they camp up top, and they just put a turret up there and a wall in front of them, and they just sit up there, and they force you to go up there and get them. But that's the same strategy. If you're using the map's architecture to your advantage. Camping to me is sitting in the same spot. Doesn't matter where that spot is, it's just sitting in the same spot, rather than abusing an architectural design. I'm abusing an architectural design. That's my justification for it, if I want to play semantics. It's not my fault. I didn't design the building. There we go. There's a humor. My coffee's ready. I've been trying to make my coffee. That's better. First sip wasn't good. Second was better. Alright, but this is your general build. Now this is the one problem with the turrets. You have 3 targets here. All equal distance. It goes for the healer. In most cases, in-game, it'll go for something else instead. Now what if we do this? Okay. We'll put the turret right behind, see who it goes for. Now they're both going for the sky, even though one turret should be firing at, say, Nando or Ying instead of Sky. They're both going for the same target because they're in a line. Now, by the way, this is actually a game feature. If your turrets are both in a line like this, they will both fire at the same target. Because if you see, they're right behind each other, so they're aiming off of each other. But what if I need help with Fernando? No! Turrets! Turrets! No! Nando! Him! The big gay guy with the flamethrower! No! Get the no! Kill the Fernando!
Double kill!
No! Kill the Fernando! I hate you, turret. But! As you can see, that's the point. Now, as I dig in, you see where there's the radius on the ground right there. You can kind of dig in. I have the flexibility. I can roam around. I have a very wide range. I can roam from here to Rocket Boot's range. Put my shield up. You know, they're not quite behind it, but that's fine. It's more to cover the ground in between. This lets me hunker in and focus more on having mobility. Now, the way I normally play Barik is I normally play Nimble, and so it makes me go faster, and I use my turrets as remote healing abilities. Now let's talk about your items. Let's start on defense. Defense is an important category on Barik because of how low your health is. So, if you are running a solo tank with Brave and Bold in it, you really don't need resilience. Yes, it's nice to just add on to it. I wouldn't do it. I just really wouldn't. Haven and Blast Shields to reduce the damage you take. Now, this is one thing I want you to know. Haven and Blast Shields do not affect your turret. Cauterize and Wrecker do. Cauterize and Wrecker apply to your turrets, which is why Cauterize is the most effective thing on Barik. Now, I understand buying reload speed 100%. Especially with hair trigger. Fire faster, reload faster. And on Wrecker, it can be decent if your entire team has bought Cauterize and gone the noob tube route. I get buying Wrecker in that situation. But Cauterize is the way to go. Especially on hair trigger. It allows constant DPS and it applies to your turret. So you have 3 different ways to Cauterize the enemy team. On healing, it's important to note that Rejuvenate does not stack onto turrets. It's important to note that Veteran is fucking useless if you have a turret out. Life Rip is not a good choice, because you're not going to do all that much damage. Kill to heal is the best thing you want to run. If you're running with a good healer, Rejuvenate, obviously. You know, if, hey, you got a healer, and they're healing you, Rejuvenate, baby. And this is a situation where I would say, with more of a duration type healer, a Ying. Well, it's Ying, you really don't want to buy Rejuvenate. You don't want to play Barik and Ying together, because you don't want to stack double deployables. But my point is, if you have a duration healer, for example, Genos, Rejuvenate is a good option, because you have healing from your turrets. You have healing from your, you have healing from your turrets. You have healing from if your turrets get destroyed. You have healing from the Genos. So you have 3 different forms of healing. So the Rejuvenate it's just more beneficial to buff that healing. You're not worried so much about, oh, I should get Kill to heal because Genos isn't healing me. It's more, hey, I've got my turrets doing most of the healing, so Genos is a better option. But Kill to heal becomes very effective because you have to realize you're going to get more eliminations than most other tanks. If you are playing a more coordinating team effort, you're going to get more benefit out of Kill to heal, believe it or not, than Rejuvenate, because you're going to get more eliminations. Damages are going to put damage on who you're shooting. Flanks are going to follow up on who your turrets are shooting. You have 2 additional forms of damage in your turrets. You could put them, and this is another thing I want to mention. Pop a turret here. Pop a turret over here. Okay? Putting turrets to cover flank routes is an effective strategy. Damn it. I didn't mean to put that there. Right? I've got 2 flank routes covered right here. Now, the Pip is not taking a lot of damage, and as you can see, it's because the turret shoots his current position. So it's only shooting him when he's static. So this turret right here is not doing a lot, but that's fine. It's more of an annoyance than anything. Whereas this one is just absolutely going beast mode. So back to here. Utility is once again a category where every card is good. In my opinion, Master Rider, Nimble, Kronos are the way to go. Morale boost, your ultimate is just too hit or miss. It's mostly to defend you for a few seconds. And even then, that doesn't work. If you're low health, don't ult as Barik. They'll just run in and kill you. Master Rider is in my opinion, is the best thing specifically for Siege. Because the faster you can get up and poke, you can get up and put down a turret and have hair trigger and start dismounting the enemy team from the objective before, and it really puts a hamper in their plans, especially a tank. It's increased control of the point. And that is more effective than any other card in that category because of the fact that you have lower health. So you want to get the most objective time you can to counter that. Nimble is effective because it lets you bounce between. Nimble stacks if you have rocket boots. So, where the card that is increased speed in rocket boots, you don't need that card because of Nimble. You're better off getting Nimble and just using that. That stacks on your rocket boots. So, and I don't remember not if it goes faster or not, but Nimble is your best go-between. Kronos, I understand. To be honest, all of his abilities have a long cooldown. And if you're focusing on one thing in particular, you have to reduce the cooldown. Like rocket boots, red streak. Turrets, the turret card. Fortify, you have the fortify card, plus you can run it in your loadout. So you have Kronos. But that's why Kronos, in my opinion, is not as good. I do see the value of it. Especially, for example, if you want to build around your turrets and you're running hair trigger, go ahead and do it. I understand completely, I can't judge. But Cauterize is the must-have on Barik. Playing my turret to kill that poor guy. But as you can see, that is a couple of tips and tricks on Barik. I hope they've been helpful. I know it's hard to do these types of videos in the shooting range, but it's mostly just because it's easier to do it in-game where I don't have to deal with randos that are screwing me over. Alright, let's just kill her. Alright, That's an even 55. So let's cut the stream. Thank you guys so much for what I love. I said let's cut the stream, and I pressed the completely wrong button. But